The old car sputtered into the gravel lot, rain slicking the asphalt under a flickering Sleepy Hollow Inn sign. I was exhausted, desperate for a bed, telling myself it was just an old building. I pushed open the heavy door, a bell jingled in the empty, shadowy lobby. Dust floated in the weak lamplight, the air thick with the scent of wilted flowers. I rang the bell on the counter, its echo too loud in the silence. The feeling of being watched prickled my neck. Finally, an old man with pale, faded eyes shuffled out, sliding a registration card and a heavy brass key toward me. "Room 207, he rasped. "Stairs at the end, no elevator." He watched me sign in, silent and unblinking. Upstairs, the hallway was a tunnel of flickering lights and faded red carpet. Every door was closed. No sound, no sign of life. I found room 207 at the end, its number barely visible in peeling gold paint. I slid the key into the lock, heart pounding, and turned. The click echoed, louder than it should have been. I hesitated, then pushed the door open. The room waited, silent and still. I stepped inside, the door closing behind me with a final heavy thud. The world outside faded away. I was alone, or so I hoped. The night pressed in, thick and watchful. I tried to convince myself I'd be safe until morning. The room was smaller than expected, a single bed, a desk, a wardrobe, and a window overlooking the rain-soaked lot. Drawing the curtains only made it feel more claustrophobic. The air was stale, the lamp flickered and died, leaving me in dim hallway light. I sat on the bed, springs groaning, nerves raw. Every sound, dripping faucet rattling air conditioner, felt amplified. The walls seemed to breathe, alive with secrets. I tried to sleep, but unease pressed down, heavy and suffocating. I tossed and turned, haunted by dreams of endless hallways and locked doors. In my dream, a rhythmic scratching came from the wall, then a whisper repeating a name I couldn't understand. I woke with a start, heart racing, the room pitch black. The silence was unnatural, thick with anticipation. I strained to listen, half expecting the whisper to return. The darkness felt alive, pressing in from all sides. I pulled the blanket tighter, wishing for morning. But the night was far from over. Something was waiting, just out of sight. My travel clock glowed 3:12 a.m. The rain had stopped. The air was heavy, charged. I sat up, certain I wasn't alone. Shadows twisted, wardrobe, chair, becoming figures in the dark. I held my breath, listening for any sign of movement. Silence pressed in, wrong and absolute. I crept to the door, hand shaking on the lock, desperate for reassurance. But fear rooted me in place. Then I felt it, a faint vibration through the floorboards, a steady, living pulse from the wall behind the bed. Drawn by dread, I knelt, pressing my hands to the peeling wallpaper. The vibration grew stronger, a slow, deep rhythm. I pressed my ear to the wall, breathing, slow, ragged, unmistakably human. It was coming from inside the wall. Inches away, something or someone was there, hidden and waiting. I recoiled, terror flooding every nerve. The room felt smaller, the darkness deeper. I realized I was not alone. Panic seized me. I scrambled from the wall, gasping. My mind raced. Pipes? An animal? But the breathing was too human. The wall was an exterior one. Nothing should be there. I grabbed the old rotary phone, dialing the front desk with trembling fingers. The phone rang, echoing in the silence. Finally, the old man answered, his voice hushed and fearful. "What is it?" he whispered. "There's someone in the wall," I stammered. Silence, then. "Stay in your room. Don't open the door. I'm coming. I'll call the police." The line went dead. I was left alone, the breathing behind the wall growing louder, closer. I pressed myself against the far side of the room, clutching the phone. Every second stretched, the sound relentless. I waited, trapped between terror and hope. Footsteps finally echoed in the hallway. A sharp knock at the door. The nightmare was only beginning. I braced myself for what would come next. The old manager and 2 police officers entered, faces grim. I pointed to the wall, voice barely a whisper. "Breathing. It's in there." The officers exchanged glances. The manager looked defeated. One officer pressed his ear to the wall, then called for a crowbar. They moved the bed, pried at the floorboards, and a false wall splintered open. A foul stench billowed out. Flashlight beams revealed a narrow, hidden space. Blanket pillow, empty bottles, rotting food. A spiral notebook and a camcorder pointed at the bed's headboard. The officer flipped through the notebook. Lists of names, dates. My name was at the bottom, next to today's date. The truth was worse than any nightmare. Someone had been living in the walls, watching. The officers confiscated everything, faces pale. The manager wouldn't meet my eyes. I realized I'd never truly be safe again. The hollow space was empty, but its presence lingered. I fled as soon as I could. The police questioned me, collected evidence, and promised to be in touch. As dawn broke, I left the Sleepy Hollow Inn without looking back. Days later, I tried to call the hotel, disconnected. Online, it had vanished, as if it never existed. The only trace a post on a paranormal forum from years ago. Others had stayed in room 207, heard the breathing, fled in terror. The hotel would disappear from records, reappear under new names, always waiting for its next guest. I never went back. Sometimes late at night I remember the false wall, the hollow space, the list of names. I wonder who built it, who watched, and why. I wonder if the police ever found the person hiding there. And sometimes, in the deepest silence, I almost hear it again. A faint rhythmic sound, the slow, steady breathing just behind the wall, waiting. And I know some places never let you go.